Hey witches, welcome to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy, a magical living podcast for the busy witch. I'm Morgan, eclectic witch of almost 25 years, Avalon priestess, and busy witch. Here we'll talk all things witchy, from current metaphysical happenings to my busy witch tips and tricks, and everything in the in-between. This podcast is my personal journey, filled with my knowledge, opinions, and unique way of looking at the world. Join me as I weave the magical and the mundane in every episode. Hey witches, welcome back to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy. I'm Morgan. Happy September, witches. I cannot believe how fast this year has flown by. It is already September. We are so close to spooky season. In fact, you know what? We're in spooky season now. Fuck it. We're in spooky season now. Okay. Saturday is just like September is just like October prequel. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. I'm currently in this cozy stillness. Like, I'm trying to urge fall to come on, even though here in Tucson, we have no fall. Okay, we have 2 weeks of fall in January, and then it goes from fall to winter to spring within a month. Okay, so I don't really get a fall, but for whatever reason, I'm trying to force it. We've been eating chili. I made Brunswick stew the other day, and I've really been coaxing. I've not had a pumpkin spice latte yet, but I have done pumpkin donuts. So I'm urging fall. I'm kind of nurturing it, trying to pull it into Tucson, but my mind keeps diving deeper and deeper. It's been part of this transformational journey that I've been on for the last year, but especially the last few months, which I've talked about here on the podcast. But I've been thinking a lot about my journey, how I have gotten to where I am today, and the different paths I took to get here. And I don't ever regret anything that I did in my life, because if anything were different, I wouldn't be the person that I am today, and I wouldn't be in this spot that I am today. But I've been thinking a lot about forks in the road that I had, and like why I chose the path that I did, and how that molded me into who I am now. And so I've been opening myself to my guides, to my goddesses, to my higher self, all of that, and saying, okay, where do I go next? What's next for me? Like, which direction do I go? What decisions do I make? I've really been trying to run things intuitively, like my business, my life, figure things out intuitively. That's what my goal has been lately. So in opening myself up to my guides and my goddesses and saying, okay, what's next? I have gotten one message back consistently over and over again. And that is, talk to the black sheep, the magical misfits, those who've always felt different, like they were too much or too weird or too loud or maybe not enough. Those are your people. That's the message that I've been getting over and over again, and I love it. So what I am talking about today is you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to break the mold, and how to stop trying to shrink yourself and your power to fit in. Through this episode, I'm going to be not only talking about why you are a magical misfit, but ways to embrace it a little bit more, practical applications that you can do if you want to explore that side of yourself more. So I'm going to be weaving those all throughout this episode. But I want this episode, even though I have lots of notes. I went crazy on this episode. I love it. I have lots of notes. I have a lot of things that I will be looking down for those watching on YouTube. I will be looking down to read, because I want to make sure. I was very careful with how I chose my words in some places. And I just want to make sure that the message that I'm conveying comes across the way that I want it to come across, you know? So let's start with a quick recap of my origin story and what led me here on a grand scale. Okay. And I honestly, I know that I've told the full story. I am not sure if it was the My Psychic Journey episode or what episode it was where I've actually told my full origin story. but a quick recap is good for today. Basically in high school, I mean, I was one of those kids that always felt a little different. But it really was starting to get pointed out to me in high school. I really didn't want to go along with what everybody else was doing. I was part of the quote unquote popular kids group, but I was 100% the black sheep to the extent, just for example, I was on the volleyball team and there was a really nice picture taken of 4 of us from the volleyball team. On my camera, nonetheless. And so when the pictures came out, they were gorgeous. I had copies made for the other 3 girls in the picture. And it just so happens that I was kind of standing off to the side. And so all of them, the other 3, folded the picture or ripped it to where I was removed from it. So I was still part of the quote unquote popular kids, but I was definitely the black sheep. So this was made very aware to me in high school. And that's when I also realized that I didn't want to be like them. I didn't want to drink myself into oblivion on the weekends. I didn't want to party. I didn't want to do anything that they wanted to do. So I stood out and I was bullied for it. Very long story short, to Colin and then another person within 2 weeks of each other, 1 or 2 weeks of each other, were both in car accidents. And those 2 had happened to have made out at a party a few weeks before then. I was very angry at both of them. Colin and I had broken up at the time, so don't think that he cheated. We were broken up at the time. But this other girl was supposedly a friend of mine. Anyway, they were both in car accidents within 1 or 2 weeks of each other, separate incidences. And so when I got to school the next day, everyone was calling me a witch. And so me being the smartass that I am was like, well, if you're going to call me one, I might as well be one. And so the first trip to the bookstore, I picked up Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner. And while I'm not Wiccan and I did not become Wiccan, I at least found a lot of answers in that book that I've been asking questions since I was little, especially in church or Bible school, Sunday school. I asked a lot of questions there, and they were never answered. It was always, Morgan, you just have to believe. And I'm like, I can't believe something I don't believe, So that's my origin story. That is when I realized that there was something else out there besides Christianity, and that there was a religion or set of beliefs or spiritual path that gave you the power to mold your life, to do whatever you wanted to with. You didn't have to get down on your knees and pray to a very busy God to make things happen for you, So it was all of that. That incident happened when I was in 11th grade. So, and then Colin and I ended up getting back together my senior year of high school. We got married a month after I graduated high school. And here we are 26 years down the road later, So, but I knew then, especially then, that I was different. And I knew that I enjoyed a little bit, as much bullying and bullshit that it caused for me. I enjoyed walking to the beat of my own drum. Okay. Now, a lot of who I am, who I was, I 100% repressed. I am also from the South. So I was taught things like, oh, girls act this way, oh, ladies don't say that. Ladies don't show emotion, and oh, you don't say what's on your mind, respect your elders, blah, 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 all of this kind of shit too. And not just from like parents, like I'm talking just society in the South is still like that to this day, So, that's my origin story. I would say that's the first path that led me to this point, especially, who I am today. But it also reawakened something within me where I knew I was different, or I knew I was different and I didn't want to be the same as everyone. There was not a longing. There was not a, why won't the popular kids truly accept me? Or maybe if I dressed differently, or maybe if I acted more like them, they would accept. I didn't give a flying fuck at that point. I was like, oh, okay, you want me to be like you? Fuck that shit. I knew that was not for me. Okay. So now, 25 years into my spiritual journey, I understand that the black sheep, the magical misfits, and the sacred rebels are here to break the cycle. We were born to stand out. We were not born to conform, which is why for so many of us, it is painful as fuck to conform. Oh my God. If I had to fit in and blend in with everyone, I think it would cause me physical pain. And that could be a little bit of my Leo moon and my Leo rising and my Aquarius sun talking right there. But I just remember in high school not wanting to be like the popular kids. Even if I thought that it would stop the bullying, if I thought that it would stop the side comments, if it would stop having the word bitch written on my desk when I went to sit at my desk. If I thought that it would have stopped all that, I still wouldn't want it to have been like them, So whether you're here to break ancestral trauma, break familial cycles, that were passed on to you from your parents, that were passed on from their parents, who were passed on from their parents, or whether you're here to break something larger on like a humanitarian scale. That's what I believe, that we were born into this. Okay. Sacred rebels and black sheep, magical misfits, are the ones who refuse to go along with everyone else. And they are the ones who create change. Okay. Conforming to what everybody else does not create change in this world. It is the people who break free and who question. That is how change occurs. Okay. It is the Rosa Parks of the world. It is the Martin Luther King Jr.'s of the world. At one point, the Kennedys broke the mold a little bit, just a little. I wouldn't say that too much now. But it's the Joan of Arcs of the world. It's the people that decided to stand up for what they believed in. That is how change occurs in the world. It is not conforming to what everybody else says and does. It is not becoming a sheep. It is not falling in line. That is not how change occurs. Okay? The witch archetype itself, I want you to Google after I'm done. Google the witch archetype. Okay? It is an actual archetype. And the witch archetype is one that stands up, where they stand out and they stand up for what they believe in. Okay, they question everything. They refuse to continue a cycle that helps people stay imprisoned or subservient. They work to empower themselves and others to heal wounds and reclaim our voice. And this is what society tells us is wrong or bad to silence us. This is why powerful women hundreds of years ago, during the medieval times, were pegged as witches. This is why the Salem witch trials happened. This is why the witch trials happened all across the world. Because strong women who questioned, who didn't fall in line, who didn't conform, threatened the patriarchy. They threatened the males who ran things. And they said, oh, you must be a witch. Now we're going to hang you. Or burn you alive. Or drown you. Or whatever, because they threatened societal norms. They questioned, they rebelled, they empowered other people to stand up for themselves as well. Okay? I have lots of notes today. I'm so excited. I actually had to start a new notebook today. I've done so much podcasting. So, if you think about it like this, the ancestors, and I don't necessarily mean your blood ancestors of the life you're living right now. I am talking about everybody who has come before us, okay? Ancestors chose you to help break the cycle and forge new paths ahead. That's why you don't fit in. That is why you don't fit in. You were never meant to fit in. When you were born, this life of rebellion and thinking for yourself and empowering yourself and all of that was written for you. You chose this life. You chose to be a rebel. And this is why you don't fit in. So stop trying to fit in. All right. So now let's talk about how exhausting it is to hide your magic, to tone yourself down, and to dim your light just to fit in. I talked about it a lot lately. In fact, there was a whole episode just a few episodes ago called Spiritual Exhaustion is Real. Okay. I've touched on it. But we're going more into, like, I want you to feel seen and I want you to feel heard with this episode. And I want you to understand that what you're feeling inside is validated, but we're empowering today. Okay. We're taking all of that and we're taking it to the next level. All right. I was talking to a therapist last week, and she asked me when I was officially diagnosed with anxiety, and then in another, like a part B to that question, when I felt like I first had anxiety show up in my life. Okay. So for me, I was officially diagnosed, I don't know, 8 years ago. It was pre-pandemic. Okay. But it wasn't, like 25 years ago, because 25 years ago, they did not know what anxiety was. Okay. So her question was amazing because it made me think, like, okay, I didn't receive an anxiety diagnosis, till maybe the last decade. But the first time that I know anxiety showed up for me, was high school. Like 100%. They diagnosed me with IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, but it was 100% anxiety. And looking back now, you're like, oh, that anxiety makes a lot more sense than just IBS, which can be a catch-all diagnosis for some people. So her asking me that, she was like, okay, so in high school, I was like, yeah, oh God, yeah. In high school, looking back now, I was one huge ball of anxiety throughout all of high school. And even like to this day, my anxiety shifts. It used to be anxiety over, leaving the house or being out of my comfort zone, things like that. But I have noticed this shift over the last few years that when it comes to hiding my magic, when it comes to toning myself down, it was something I really started doing within the business. I realized through the last couple of years that I severely was holding myself back from saying things that I really truly wanted to say because I'm a business owner. And that's how I rationalized it. Like, oh, I can't be my true self because I own a business. And if we lose customers, that's on me. Never mind if they were aligned customers. Never mind if they were just, the Karens of the world who were offended by everything. It was my fault if we lost a customer because of something I said. It was my fault. No part of theirs at all. It was all me. If I said something that they didn't like, it was my fault. And so I realized that I was running my business with a mask on. And it's exhausting, you guys. If you aren't being yourself and you're not shining your light, or you're people pleasing, or you're holding back saying or doing the things that you truly want to say or do to make someone else happy, you're just making yourself unhappy. And when you are not shining your light, then how are others who truly resonate with you supposed to find you if you are not shining your authentic light? What you're doing by holding back being yourself, by toning down your magic, by dimming your light, is you are just attracting people who want that fake side of you. They want that facade. And then when you do show your true colors, they're offended. Or they're like, oh my gosh, you're not the person I thought you were. No, you weren't, because I was not being me. And so those are the type of people that you attract. And let's even take it one step further while I adjust my chair, because it is just slowly creeping down. If the light that you're shining is not your authentic light, okay? If you have a mask on and you are not being your authentic self and you are beaming that light out into the world, then like energy attracts like, okay? Which means that the people that you are attracting are also beaming out a light of inauthenticity. That's a word, right? Inauthenticity. We're going to go with it. So you're beaming out an inauthentic light. You're going to attract people who are also wearing a huge fucking mask. And what happens is one of you or both of you is going to drop the mask at some point. And then it's going to be devastating to one of you or both of you. Because then the mirror is going to be reflected. So if you're shining that light, you attract people that are also being fake. Your fake drops, they're offended. Then you go, oh my God, what did I do? And then you start to doubt, well, I was my true self and they didn't accept me. So that's the last fucking time I decide to show my true self to the world. When it's because you were attracting people who you couldn't be yourself around because they couldn't be themselves around others either. So the only cure for this is to just be your fucking self. And then when you're shining that light into the world, you have this amazing comfort in knowing if that person doesn't resonate with me, I'm being my true self. We weren't meant to be. Friends, business partners, romantic relationship. And you stand firm in who you are. You don't doubt who you are because that person didn't accept you. You know who you are. So you go, well, that person must not have been aligned with my true self. And that's fine. And it's easier to let them go. And I mean, God, just being yourself I think it would solve so many of the world's problems. I really do. You know, because there would be a hell of a lot less guilt and shame in the world if you were just being yourself and if everyone else was just being themselves as well. And then you just start attracting people that are just like you and who see eye to eye. And even if you see differently, you don't see eye to eye, you respect one another on an energetic level to be like, you know what? I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with you, but I still love you. And then you just move on, you know, with other things in your life. I've gone so far off my notes. I got to figure out where I was. Okay. So ask yourself, oh, okay, good. You know what? It's fine. Because right now we're going to weave. We're going to weave in some fun practical things you can do. So you can journal these things. You can just think about them. You can even, as soon as I ask the question, you can hit pause on the podcast. And what's the first thing that comes to mind if you don't want to journal it out? Or you can save this podcast for later, hit up these spots and be like, okay, I want to know, like, I want to journal this out. So ask yourself, where am I pretending to be something I'm not? And if you want to take it one step further in your shadow working, ask yourself, what would I do differently if I wasn't afraid of being too much? And that's what it was for me. For my business, as the face of Inked Goddess Creations, I mean, I've been told my entire life I was too much. I was too loud. I was too smart. I was too weird, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. Too emotional, too crazy. I've been told that before. And so over the years, that's the limiting belief that was born for me, is I was too much. I was too much for people. So therefore, instead of surrounding myself with people who loved my too muchness, I said, oh, I need to dim my light, because that's what I was taught to do as a child as well, is to dim my light. And this was by teachers, by parents. You know, I was taught, oh, no. If you do that, you're gonna make somebody else feel bad. So just don't do that. You know, don't do that. You're gonna make other people who aren't on, you know, the same level as you, you're gonna make them feel bad. So just don't do that. Instead of being told, that's amazing that you can do that, shine your light brighter, I was told to dim my light. Yeah, shit from childhood. Anyway, so let's talk about being weird, because I brought it up. I love talking about being weird. So even as a child, I can remember people telling me, like, middle school age, high school, all of that. People would be like, oh my God, you're weird. Which in the mid to late 90s, in the 90s period, weird was horrible. Oh my God, if you were called weird, that was like the biggest insult ever. Okay. I was called weird all the fucking time. And you know what I said to them? I always said thank you. It was just a gut reaction. Somebody would be like, oh my God, you're weird. And I'd be like, thank you. Now, in episode 18 of Two Witches Talking, my podcast with Megan Winkler, we were talking about weird or TV shows and movies that molded our weirdness. And for me, it was Pee-wee's Playhouse. I watched it religiously for like the 3 or 4 years it was on every Saturday morning. And it's on Prime Video now. So after watching the Paul Rubens documentary, I went back and started watching Pee-wee's Playhouse again. Yes, I'm 44 years old and I fucking watch Pee-wee's Playhouse. But it was in one of the first 3 episodes of the first season. Somebody calls Pee-wee weird or twisted and he says, thank you. And the person says, yeah, that's why I love it here at Pee-wee's Playhouse. That's where I realized I got it from. Did not even know. I just know that growing up, whenever I was called weird, I always said thank you. Because for me, it was a compliment. It meant you're different. You stand out. But did you know, and now we're going to get nerdy here. The word weird, W-E-I-R-D, stems from the Old English or the Norse word for weird, W-Y-R-D, which means fate, destiny, and magical power. It is a Norse, it's derived from the Norse because there were the Weird Sisters, W-Y-R-D. The Weird Sisters were the weavers of fate, okay, in Norse mythology. So, being weird means that you are, and that's W-E-I-R-D now, being weird means that you are aligned with your destiny and able to weave your own path. Think about that. For so many of us, especially if you grew up in the 90s and you were called weird, it was a horrible, slur. My brain can't think of the word that's the opposite of a compliment. It was a derogatory remark to be called weird or a weirdo. And now to know that word comes from a word that means fate, destiny, and magical power. Shut the fuck up. Yes, I'm weird. Yes, you're weird. Yes, we're fucking weird. I'm a weirdo. You're a weirdo. Embrace it. It means that you are in control of your fate. It means you are tapped into your power. Being weird equals freedom and empowerment. That's essentially what the etymology of the word means. Is freedom, empowerment, magical power, having control of your own destiny. So, practical application here. Make a list of all the weird things about yourself. Things that other people have told you are weird. Things that are too much about you. And I'm using, again, air bunny quotation marks for those that are just listening and not watching. Reframe them into superpowers. That's what I want you to do. And then you've made this list of weird things about yourself. Embrace them, embody them. Almost make like a witchy vow to yourself. Like from this point forward, I vow to be this. Too much when it comes to this. I vow to be weird about this. Because that is your superpower. That is your magical power. That is you taking control of your own fate. And for us in the 90s, it is taking a word like the word witch, and reclaiming it for something amazing for us. Yay! All right, last point that I will be making for this episode. Witchcraft is a sacred rebellion. I firmly believe that. In fact, I just talked about that in episode 184, Real Signs You're a Witch, which, let me tell you, was a really fun episode to shoot, or to write, to record. It's gotten a lot of positive feedback. I love seeing y'all's, not only your quote unquote real signs you're a witchcraft from these like cheesy quizzes you can take, but also reading your stories about like when you realized you were when you first realized you were a witch. But many of us found this path because we refused to fit in. We refused to be told what to do, or we asked too many fucking questions that nobody had answers for, or we saw injustices that were done towards women or minorities, in other religions or in society, and we decided to rise above it or rise against it. Many systems out there want women and rebels to be small, to be invisible, subservient, compliant. All of these words physically hurt to say. And the thought of that makes you sick to your soul. I hate, one of the worst pet peeves is the word subservient for me. I hate that word. That word makes my teeth hurt. Like to even see it written or something. The word subservient, it makes me want to grind my teeth. It causes physical discomfort in my soul and in this vessel that I am currently in because my soul is writhing in it. I don't know what it is about the word subservient, but or submissive. I don't like that word either. They just cause physical reactions for me. Anyway, so if you're like me and these words, they cause a physical reaction within you, then why are you trying to fit in with people? Why are you trying to dim your light to make yourself more tolerable to others? Why are you trying to water yourself down to make yourself appropriate for the masses? You're not appropriate for the masses. Just admit it now. You're not. You're appropriate for this amazing group of people that the more that you shine your inappropriate light, the more that you'll find the appropriate people who fucking love it. Okay? There's so many institutions out there in religion and in society that are trying to quiet you, me, us. And it honestly doesn't matter who's listening right now. Because if you align with my podcast and you've made it this far in this episode, there's something magical misfit about you, you know, but women and gay men, women, you know, everybody who's open-minded, who's more open-minded than the average person, we all have an institution trying to keep us down, even if it's just the fucking main government right now. Ugh, being in America is fun right now, you guys. So be loud, be proud, and be too much, because that shows the assholes out there that you have reclaimed your power and that you are no longer afraid, which is where they want you. Okay. I know I've talked about this on the podcast before, but it is easier to control and manipulate people with fear. And that is why there's so much fear being spread in the world, because it is so much easier to get you afraid and then tell you, do you not want to be afraid anymore? Well, here, follow this, buy this, become this, do this, and you won't be afraid anymore, or you'll be protected. That's how people get into cults. But fear-mongering is a tactic used by the government, by the media, to keep you fearful, because it is way easier to control you and tell you what to do if you're ruled by fear. So, hopefully this episode has called to your soul. And if you have been dimming your light, maybe you've been inspired to move through that fear of being yourself. There should be no fear associated with being yourself. There should be fear associated with not being yourself. Like I said earlier, the thought of blending completely in and becoming nothing, that's what it's like for me. I don't want to be part of the masses. I want people to at least know that I think for myself, and I will question everything. Okay? I will get to the bottom of things that I question. I'm not going to do what you say just because you said to do it. I'm going to question why. And if you can give me a good enough reason, then I might do it. Maybe. But I want you to question. I want you don't have to go blazing about. You know what I mean? You don't have to just go balls to the wall shouting your opinions at everyone and correcting everyone and everything. It's not. This is about a feeling within yourself. You know who you are. And you don't even have to defend it to some people. You might choose to, because it could get a little fun when you have Christians on your YouTube telling you that if you found Jesus, then he would have the right changes for you. I don't even know what that means. So I have fun. I ask questions that hopefully they'll ask themselves. Will they ask themselves? No, they'll just go around and continue to comment on witch posts about finding Jesus. But anyway, they should, because they're not open-minded. They're closed-minded. And I want you to be open-minded, and I want you to question everything. I want you to question everything I've said in this episode today. Yeah, that would make me very happy. So you belong to yourself, your craft, your power, and your sacred rhythm. That is the only person you belong to. Fuck everyone else. Fuck them. Fuck their opinions. Fuck their shoulds and, oh, you should be doing this. You should be doing this. You should not be doing this. Fuck all of that. Okay? You belong to yourself, and your only job in this world is to make yourself happy. If everyone in the world understood that they held the key to their own happiness within them, we would not have as many fucking issues as we do now, because so many people are trying to find their happiness or their power or their identity outside of themselves. They're looking for validation from a spouse, a parent, a brother, a sister, a mother, a father. They're looking for validation, and they're looking for directions from someone outside of them, and all they have to do is love themselves and embrace themselves. All of them. The gorgeous parts, the ugly shadows, all of it. If we all just truly accepted ourselves for who we were and knew that down to our core, the world would be so much better of a place, because you wouldn't be seeking it from outside. You wouldn't be trying to control people. People would not be trying to control you, because we all would just have a beautiful, grounded centeredness within ourselves of who we are and what we're doing with our lives, and what we're doing makes us happy. And we've found our people to celebrate it with, and we don't give a flying fuck if anybody else wants to be a part of it. There, you go do you. I'm going to do me, and we can exist side by side. We don't have to cross paths. You don't have to tell me I'm wrong or going to hell. And I don't have to tell you that the goddess is waiting for you to get up off of your knees, praying to a male god, and she wants to empower you. It's one of the lines I use when the Christians come at me. Or love thy neighbor. I love using that one against them too. Or only God can judge me. I like using that one too. There's just some bullets for you guys. Anyway, if you are listening to this right now, if you've made it this far, your soul is on a journey of awakening, and this is exactly where you are meant to be at this moment. You're not behind. You're not ahead. You are exactly where you are meant to be right now. And you should thank yourself. You should thank your souls for going on this journey, for taking your vessel, your human vessel with you, and for opening and expanding and awakening and being your true self, because that's what matters. Being your true self and loving your true self, warts and all. So that's what I have for you all today. For my paid Patreon, I am going to be continuing this episode by expanding more about what I mentioned before, which was about holding myself back as a business owner. So I'm just going to go a little bit more into that because I have a specific example that I'm going to go over, and then I'm going to talk about that and what I learned from it. I do have new paid Patreon members. So my Patreon is at patreon.com/inkedgoddesscreations. And I do have a free tier. I do also have 3 paid tiers. Okay, the bottom one is $5 a month. That gets you not only the bonus content, access to all the bonus content for all of my podcasts, including this one and all the ones in the past, but it gets you a shout out. So I would like to thank Miss Moonlight, Lisa, and I just have Bewitchin3. I know who that is by the email though, but you put in Bewitchin3 as your name. So that's what I'm going to say. So I want to thank you all for being new paid Patreon members and for supporting me as a witchy content creator. So yeah, I want to thank you all just here for listening. If this resonated with you, please share this episode with other witchy friends or other open-minded friends. Hell. And like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, because then it sends the podcast out to more magically curious people. And we can have more gorgeous witchy awakenings. And then it just sends out all the positive, yummy, good vibes out there to counteract all the shit happening out in the real world. So thank you all for being here, for listening, for giving me a platform to be my weird self. Be your weird self too, and I will see you all next week. Bye. If you're looking for a magical community where you can just be yourself, check out my Ink Spirit Coven. The Coven is an online learning circle for eclectic witches who want to learn new witchcraft practices and how to easily incorporate magic into their daily lives, all while being supported on their personal spiritual journey. And you'll have me as your magical mentor, sharing my knowledge, answering questions, and facilitating the online community. Head to inkspirit.com to learn more and join. And if unique witchcraft supplies made by witches for witches is just what you need, head to my store, inkgoddesscreations.com, to see what we have to enhance your magical practice. We also have the Ink Goddess Creations box, a monthly subscription of magic mail filled with exclusive items that fit a magical theme. Head to the site to see this month's theme and sneak peeks.